Okay, so hey, this is great. We're at 30. These have been going good. We basically put
Yeah.
them out every week. We've skipped a couple times just for travel issues, vacations. But Woody's coming back, joining us from Toronto. I guess he's probably gonna be in the hotel.
Yeah, yeah. When I talked to him, shoot, I don't know. I think it was Monday. My days are all running together here, but he said he had some meetings with staff, and they had the staff dinner tonight. So he wanted to do it this morning or early afternoon, and it turned out that this is the best time for him, and if it's the best time for him, it's the best time for us. And I mean, the season starts, and who better to talk to kind of get a feel for everything and what might happen than with the manager himself. So
Yeah, the skipper.
yeah, and he was on after last season in October, and I think our metrics show that his episode is the third most popular behind Jack Kleider and Cole Winn. So he's keeping good company.
Yeah, and it awesome for him. I appreciate him stopping down to do it. We're going to have him
Yeah.
on hopefully about 20 minutes. He's going to be pressed, but we'll get some good questions that we want to ask before this starts. But I thought another thing we could do, this is the last one before the season starts. Next week, we have some big stuff happening. It's still on target to do it, but I figure we could go over just kind of quick predictions. Who's going to win each thing, what we think, some Ranger predictions, and maybe some breakout players and stuff like that. I kind of sent you what I wanted to cover.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah. And hey, so guys, listen, we're going to get going on this. We've told Woody anytime he might pop in before we get finished. We'll just finish it at the end. If not, we'll keep going till now, and then we'll wait on Woody to bring him in at the last part. So I figure let's do this. First of all, you don't got to go over every division and see what place 1 through 5 in every one. That's just stupid. I think we want to go through who's going to win each division. Let's start in the National League, and we'll end with the AL West. If we go to the National League East, who is it that you think is going to win the National League East?
Well, I think it's going to be hard to knock off the Braves. I know that a lot of people think the Mets are a darling team, but they've already got injury issues with DeGrom.
Yep.
Scherzer sounds like a minor deal, but anyway, so you gotta beat the best to be the best, and so I still think the Braves. I know they lost Freeman, but they replaced him with possibly a better player. So
yeah,
I think the Braves are going to be the team to beat there.
I do too. The Mets were somebody that I kind of thought of, but DeGrom, you got Scherzer. I think those teams too, that, history says you go out and spend the most money and it doesn't necessarily translate onto the field sometimes. And, the Mets are going to be good. I think they are going to be good. But I think the Braves, when you're in first place, I think that you've got to get knocked off in most circumstances, and they're still going to be good. Okay. If we go to the Central, who do you see in the National League Central?
Well, I think it's Brewers Cardinals are the top two, and I'll go with the Cardinals. They have a first year manager. I think as the offseason has worn on, it sounds like there's a little more drama there last year, and the Cardinals were still a decent team. They figured things out late. If Jack Flaherty and Miles Michaelis are healthy throughout the season, then that's a pretty good place. And boy, they have 4 Gold Glovers, I think, and pitching and defense wins. So give me the Cardinals.
It was funny. I was going between those two teams. I kind of feel like the Cardinals might slip a little. I don't know, but I went with the Brewers. Okay. I think the Brewers. I've liked the Brewers and had them doing well last year. I think I like what they've done in there. In the Central, maybe the weakest division in the National League. But I think it's the Brewers also coming out of there.
They have a great rotation. There's no question about it.
Yeah. So, absolutely.
And they're 2 guys at the back end of the bullpen are dynamite. So that wouldn't surprise me. But I also have a little bias with Mike Maddox as the pitching coach of the Cardinals. So
so you covered Mike. So Mike was great to cover.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's always busy. Most of these coaches are busy, and you don't get a chance to talk to him. But Mike's just a good guy, and loves college basketball too. So that's and spicy Mexican food. So he and I get along real well.
Hey, that sounds like he's right up my alley too. And on the major league staff this year, you've got to take your. I like Wilson. I think Wilson's a great guy too. He's always been
Bobby,
real.
Yeah.
Really personable and talks every time he saw us out at spring training.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to keep going. We're going to go on to the West. Who do you see? I think we both
Dodgers.
probably have the
Yeah.
same. Yeah, the Dodgers.
Dodgers. No need to explain it. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I think if the Dodgers don't win the World Series, it's just that's the disappointment. They've either got to win the World Series or the whole season's a bust for them.
Yeah, yeah.
That's in my opinion. Okay, National League wild card. 3 teams this year are going to make it. Who do you see doing it?
Well, since I picked the Cardinals, I got to go with the Brewers. I'll go ahead and say the Padres. They've got a lot of pitching, and then I will go ahead and kind of go out on a limb and say the Phillies.
Wow.
They were close last year, and they have the best player in the league, Bryce Harper.
Yep.
I think the rotation is good enough to beat some people. So and there's always a team that surprises. So I don't know that it'd be a huge surprise, but I'm going to go with them.
Okay. So, all right. Well, let me jump out on there. We both said Dodgers. That was the easy choice. I went Padres also. They've got they've got about a 12-man rotation, it seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got it up and down. I think at some point, some of those, that might be some people they trade off at the trade deadline when they settle in on their rotation in doing that. So I think Padres are going to make it. I went with the Mets. I don't think they'll win the East. I think they might be the team. Phillies, you said, might. So that would be bad for the Mets in your case, because you've got then obviously you have the Mets coming in no better than third. So I've got the Mets, and then I went Cardinals. Your Cardinals. I went with Cardinals as the other wild card spot going in there. I don't see anybody from that was one from each division for me. I didn't do that in the American League, but there was one from each division I put in that made the there. So let's go to the American League, and let's go to one of the probably might be the best American League division, and that's the East. Who do you think is going to come out of there?
It's tough, but I think the Blue Jays are going to win that. They they lost Simeon, but they have tremendous young talent. They added 2 Barrios last year at the deadline, but Kevin Gossman, who's going to pitch the second game for them this year against the Rangers. So I think their rotation is deep and they have a good bullpen. So I'm going to go Blue Jays.
I did the same thing. I went with the Blue Jays too. And when we get to our wild card, there's going to be a team that's going to be upset coming out of the East because I think there are 4 teams in the East that think they are World Series contenders this year. So if we go to the Central, probably the same team here. Who did you go with?
I went with the White Sox.
I did too. Even with Lynn going down, I don't think he's going to be back in is it 6 weeks?
Yeah, Lynn and Crochet losing him's a kind of a blow to their bullpen, but they're going to score a ton of runs, and they've got enough depth, and they've shown that they'll go out and make moves to patch up any holes. So I think they run away with it.
Okay, well here's a good one. So who are you going out of the West?
Yeah, boy, you kind of go back and forth. I think the Mariners will prevail. They have another year of seasoning. I mean, they were a really good team last year. Those young players are going to be better. They have Julio Rodriguez, their number 3 prospect, who's going to be playing every day. So I think that this might be the year they break their playoff drought.
I do too. I went with the Mariners too. I think that they didn't sit pat. They made a couple of moves with Ray. They brought in Ray for the rotation. I mean, this is they ended up with, was it 90 wins last year they had?
90 or 91. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, no one saw it. I do. I think the Mariners and Rangers might be setting up in the next couple of years to be 2 teams that kind of take over the West and battle it out all the way through.
Yeah, there's that potential for
there is. And because the Mariners, I think, are there to stay. And they're if they get any team that starts winning, then they start spending more, making moves and doing stuff. And I think they've got a decent minor league system too. Okay. So that goes to the wild card. So now we're going into the wild card. Who are your darlings who's getting left out of this thing?
Well, I'm going to go Yankees, Rays, and Astros.
And the Astros.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have no other American League West team making the playoffs.
Oh.
I've got the Rays and the Red Sox. I think the Yankees are the ones that fall back.
Okay.
They're going to be right in it all the way to the end, but I think they're going to get overtaken at the end by the Tigers, who
Oh,
I think the Tigers are young and coming up, and I think they might slide into that third spot. The Yankees, it just is. It's partial. It's also personal for me. I love to watch anything Yankees that for a Yankee fan for it to implode. I love the guys that are there. You and I both have covered Joey. We've covered Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. We like Trevino. They just got rid of Rodriguez, Joely.
yeah.
They just traded off. Those are great guys. I wish nothing. If they make the playoffs, are the only ones that I would be rooting for, because those are great humans that would sit and talk to us all the time. But
Yeah.
I think there might be an implosion that goes on in New York.
Well, maybe you never know. You wonder about the Red Sox, maybe their rotation a little bit in bullpen. Um, they're all going to score, right? You know that, and then
Right.
the Rays just do it differently than everybody else. So, and then it's kind of hard to argue what they've done the last 2 years. So,
Sure.
I just kind of like the White Sox will go out and do what they have to do. The Yankees will go out and do what they have to do to get better
Sure.
at the trade deadline. So, yeah, I'm gonna stick with them despite your Tigers is an interesting pick. They're young. They got Spencer Torkelson's going to be their first baseman this
Mm-hmm.
year. Riley Green's going to be in center field, though he's got a broken foot right now. So it's an interesting team, especially with them adding Baez. So
Right.
we'll see. I like it. It's out there. And like you said, I said one team always surprises. So maybe that's the team.
Maybe that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
World Series. Who's going to beat who in the World Series?
I did this for a magazine in Japan.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm gonna. I picked the Dodgers and the Yankees.
over the
And
Yankees.
just you know, it's just the Dodgers lost Corey Seager in it, and I think they're better.
Yeah.
As hard as that is to imagine, they lost Kenley Jansen too, but I don't know that that's a bad thing. So, um, let let me stick with that, so that I don't have people coming out of the woodwork saying I changed my mind. I'm not changing my mind, dang it.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? And that the Yankees are a team that if they gel at the right time, they can get on a playoff hunt going there at the end. Not for me. That's not what I'm going to say, but that's not out of the realm of possibility at all. The Yankees are going to be good. Their lineup's pretty formidable. And all right, I have the Dodgers also winning, but I have them going over the Blue Jays. I think the Blue
All right.
Jays, I like the Blue Jays. That's the team I think is going to really, I think they're going to have home field advantage throughout the American League playoffs. I just think that they're that good. And watch the Rangers go up and take 2 out of 3, but that means nothing. You know how seasons always start,
Sure.
and then everybody will think the Rangers are World Series contenders and the Blue Jays are going to come in 5th. But that's a formidable lineup. I just like them. Okay. Who is going to win the American League MVP?
I for the magazine in Japan, so I had a little prep work on this. I went with Alex Bregman.
Wow.
I think he's an MVP caliber player. I think he's
He
due,
is. He is.
if he stays healthy. It's hard to go against Trout and Otani. I always wonder about Otani's health. So that's kind of why I didn't. And Trout obviously is the best player of our generation.
Right.
I have voted for him for MVP. I don't know how many times. I think he's great, but I just got a wild hair here and thought Bregman might be the guy.
You know what? That's a great sleeper pick right there, because we've seen what Bregman is capable of. He's had a down year. He might have dealt with a little bit of injury. I think he's back. He's refreshed, going. That is a guy. Look, the guy's at the plate he's selective. He hits the balls he likes to hit. He can drive the ball. He's got some power. God, that's a pretty good. I went Otani. I've never seen anything like that. So it's very easy that he might be Cy Young guy and he's not the MVP. I think he's healthier this year. He's more healthy this year going into it, a full season. Plus, they put in the Otani rule, which is going to let him stay in the lineup if he comes out as a pitcher. So I'm going to go with Otani till someone knocks him off. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a guy that throws the way he does as a pitcher and hits the way he does as a hitter.
Sure.
So I'm going to go with Otani.
and he runs like a deer. That's
He
the thing
does.
that people forget about him. The guy is one of the fastest guys in the league. I mean,
And
he's a freak. And I just, again, and I don't mean to be a, you know, I don't
Debbie
I
Downer or
don't wish
anything.
this on anybody, but he's been healthy for one season in his career.
Yep.
So that's kind of you can't
Yeah.
ignore that.
No, you can't. And he's putting a lot of strain on his body because he's not only pitching, which pitchers have to recover. I don't care what anyone
Yeah.
says. They come back
Yeah.
from throwing 100 pitches. I mean, and then he goes into the lineup and he's swinging a bat too. If
Right.
you say, well, he does that in the National League. In the American League, though, he did it every day. He was hitting when he wasn't pitching. I think he took
Exactly.
would he take a day off after he pitched and then come back usually?
Maybe, you know, that when he first was in the league, they really babied him. Joe Madden leaned on him a little bit harder last year, and he responded pretty well. Maybe that's the trick, but
Yep.
We'll just see.
You know, I remember you, Darvish, and somebody telling me that when they played in Japan, that those guys would do a bullpen session the day before that they pitched, where they would throw 120 pitches in a
No,
bullpen
I don't
session.
know that.
Yeah,
don't know
I
that,
heard it was
but
somebody that had played against you when you signed with the Rangers, and they were interviewing him. They were like, "You don't understand what these guys do. When it's their turn to pitch, the day before, they go out and throw like 120 pitch bullpen."
Wow.
Before it was, maybe I'm totally forgetting what I heard, but I swear that's what they said. So maybe, like you're saying in your Madden thing, push him a little bit, and that gets him going. Maybe that's what he needs. He needs the
Yeah, maybe.
consistency.
Yeah.
Going in. Okay, Cy Young. Who you got? The American League Cy Young.
I selected Garrett Cole. He's
It's
just
an
good.
He's amazing.
That's my only explanation.
Yeah.
He's good.
With the Pirates, he was good. I mean, when he was great with the Pirates on a team that sucked. Then he goes to the Astros, does it there. I mean, yes, he's unbelievable. But I went with somebody that is going to a pitcher-friendly ballpark, and that's Robbie Ray out in Seattle.
Huh?
I
So
think
two
Seattle
in a
makes
row
it.
for Robbie Ray. Huh?
Yeah.
All right.
So he goes out there and it's a pitcher-friendly park. He's going out to Seattle where they're going to be better. And I that's my pick. I like Garrett Cole.
Right.
I love Garrett Cole. I think that
Yeah.
he's another one. National League.
MVP Juan Soto. Kind of like Bregman. He's an MVP caliber player, and
Right.
You know, it's just he's
Yeah,
overdue.
I skipped it in NL MVP. Right. Yeah, because I have Acuna Jr. All right.
Oh, all right.
So Soto was I had Soto on my list. I had
Yeah.
Harper. You know, you think of Harper maybe break out too, but Acuna Jr. So you're going with Soto.
Yeah, I am.
Dude, he's a
yeah,
young
and,
stud.
you know, Acuna, great player. I just don't know
He's
that
hurt.
he's going to play enough games to entice voters, but it's possible. Like Joe Mauer and Josh Hamilton are examples of guys who didn't people thought hadn't played enough games and they won overwhelmingly. So
Right.
maybe that's it.
He's got to be fantastic. He's going to have to put up, video game numbers once he comes back. I've loved that guy. I think he's one, and he beats his body up out there. He goes after and gets the ball. All right. National League Cy Young.
I picked Walker Bueller. I think I picked him last year. He's good. He's going to be on the best team. So that'll get some attention.
He's their ace. I mean, he's the ace of one of the best rotations in the National League. I like Bueller. Yes, I think he's unreal. I think he's a stud. I remember back when there were talks of trades going on between the Rangers and he was just a prospect and everybody would try to include Bueller and even me sometimes, but all of a sudden it's like, no, but there's no way. Those Dodger fans would go, we're not getting rid of Bueller. And now I know why.
Yeah, right.
You know? So, okay. Rookie of the year. Who do you got in the American League?
Well, it's an unbelievable potentially race with Julio Rodriguez and Bobby Wood Jr., Spencer Torkelson, all three of those guys making their
Adley
debuts.
Rutschman.
That's crazy. I don't know if he's going to. He's hurt right now, but I will go with Bobby Wood Jr. A lot of that's personal. I've seen him some play in high school. Know his dad. So,
Me too.
I'm going to go with him, but I mean, all three of those guys are special players, and just sit back and enjoy what they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, and boy, this was a big toss up for me. I had Bobby Witt Jr. As God. It's such an easy pick. He's going to be a stud. I think so, but I ended up going with Julio Rodriguez just because I think the Mariners. I just feel the Mariners are going to be better this year, are going to be good this year, and they're going to get some national pub going into it. I like Rodriguez, and he's going to start off in the big leagues.
Yeah.
I think that was a question whether he'd make it, and he did. What about the National League?
Well, I don't like doing this, but I'm gonna say a Suzuki.
My guy,
Technically as a rookie,
right?
He comes over with a lot of seasoning, but I always, I just, I if he's great, he's gonna be the rookie of the year.
Yeah, I agree. That's who I said.
Yeah.
Kind of easy for me. Look, I've been a Suzuki guy way back, so it's good signing by the Cubs. I think he's going to do well. He's not going to put up the numbers he put up in Japan, but I think the numbers he puts up as an established big leaguer. I mean, this guy's 26, 27 years old, played, 10 years or 8 years in the MPB. I think he's going to do good. I like Suzuki also. Okay.
All right.
There's we are. So let's go to the Rangers.
Okay.
What do you see them? What is the record of the Rangers this year?
Yeah, it's always hard to pin that down and
sure.
try to
It's
be
it's
realistic.
purely a guess.
Yeah. I will say 77 and 85. That's a 17 game improvement. I think they are definitely better. They still have holes. And I think they would admit that too. I think they're going to score a lot of runs. I think they'll be a lot like the 2018. Scored a bunch, didn't quite pitch enough.
Right.
Finished I think 79 and 83 that year. So that's kind of what I'm. Maybe they were 80 and 82. I don't remember. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm leaning. So
77 and 85.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic, I think. I actually gave him one more win. I went 78 and 84. Where do you have him finishing in the division?
Fourth. I think that if the Angels stay healthy, the Angels will be a 500 or better team. I don't think that they're as good as Seattle or Houston. I think that they're very, very fragile. I think you saw that last year. And so they've got 4 good players, and if one of them gets hurt, it's trouble. And last year they had 2 of them hurt, and they weren't in a bad. They weren't very good. So
you got the Rangers.
I got the Rangers finishing 4th,
and then you got A's in last. I tell you what, I'm the ever optimist for the Rangers. I've always been the ever optimist. I always see them as a contender when they're not, and all of that. I tried every way in the world to make them be the 3rd place team in the American League West, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I just eventually thought, I just thought eventually they're just not quite there yet. I do have them going 78 and 84. I have something a little different though. I don't think the Astros finish 2nd. I think they finish 3rd. I think I think the Angels stay healthy. I think that it's Seattle. And I think even at some point, even as late as almost the trade deadline, maybe right beyond, the Rangers and the Astros might even be toying around together at 3rd at some point a little bit. Eventually, though, the Astros are just a better lineup right now. They have better starting pitching. Eventually, they'll pull away, depending on what the Rangers do at the deadline. And I think you can agree with me at the deadline. The Rangers could sell or buy, but if they're selling, they're going to be selling just guys that like they're on 1-year deals, and it's just going to be for nothing. If they're buying, they're not buying to go to the playoffs in 2022. They're buying for 2023 and 2024, and they could be the spoiler to take a player that's put on the market that instead of getting traded to a contender gets traded to the Rangers. Something like that. I could see that very easily. Maybe a rotation piece or a bat that they think they can go get. But they have, it's going to be a controllable player without a doubt.
Right. Now that's what they did with Cole Hamels in 15, and
sure,
they can say what they want. At the time they made the trade, there were 6 games under 500, and I don't think they made it for 2015. They made it for the years beyond that, and it worked out. So, but yeah, that's what you say makes sense for sure.
Yeah, and so that's it. But I'm in no move that they make during the trade deadline is going to put them into 3rd place. I don't think. I think just eventually they fall to 4th. The A's, of course, the A's are a spoiler too. They somehow or another they could end up coming in 4th place. And they're just
awful.
Yeah, I think so. But every once in a while they just weird how they pull something together out of nowhere. Who do you have the Rangers MVP this year?
You know, I've been really impressed with Marcus Simeon. Just the way he carries himself and
Right.
how hard he plays. Obviously, he's very good, but until you see what goes on behind the scenes and get a feel for him, I think he'll be their MVP. I'll just leave it at that.
I said the same thing. They've got two guys, obviously, that everyone's going to put at the top, either Simeon
Yeah.
or Seager. But I think Simeon, too. I love Seager. I mean, he was the surprise signing for me, but I think Simeon is just all around. Put his spring numbers aside. I mean, you know, they go through a process. It's what they do during the season. And I think he has more home runs. I think Seager might have a higher average. But I just think Simeon, I think he's the guy that if Simeon plays the way he's capable, it could turn this whole team into an offensive team. It just kind of runs everything.
Kind of set a tone there at the top of the lineup. And
Absolutely. There.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the best pitcher this year?
I will go. I'll take the chalk here and go with John Gray.
Okay.
Just talking to him, interesting guy. I'll be writing a story about him here soon. The changes that he made, being able to have the same release point the whole season, as opposed to having to change it when was in Denver and when he wasn't.
Right.
He's got different grips. He can have there's going to be a lot more consistency for him, and he's changed his grip on his slider. And the other day against Milwaukee, he struck out 6.
That slider was
all on
working.
sliders. So,
God.
And yeah, he's been a durable guy. I'm intrigued by him, and I think he's going to be pretty good.
That was an easy one, and I thought that was who I would just go with to be easy. But here's my deal: I think Martin Perez, without the pressure, just to eat innings, could be a guy that comes in, wins 12 games, has a 4 or 5 ERA, something like that. Not a 5, but below 5 ERA, wins 12 games, really goes 150 innings, although his numbers may not be as flashy as Gray, who I think is good. I think was one of the most underrated signings this year. Gray slides in, if any of these kids come up or a signing next year, is going to be in this rotation, and he's going to be a good arm in the rotation, in a playoff rotation. He's an arm in a playoff rotation. But I think Perez, I went with Perez just kind of like, my out of the box thinking. This is a guy that comes in. It's easy to kind of look at Hearn or maybe Dunning, have a great year, but I think it's Perez who does his job. He comes and eats 150 innings, 130 to 50 innings, has a sub 5 ERA, wins 11, 12 games, and just he's better than Lyles was, better than Fultonavich. He's capable. Let's just see if he does it.
All right.
So that's it. Okay, rookie.
Well,
this is tough.
We look at the roster right now. There aren't a ton of them.
Nope.
They have a lot of young players, but so I mean, if you pick on the current roster, I think it'd be Joe Barlow.
Maybe Burke.
He'll be pitching in leverage situations. So give me Joe Barlow.
Yeah, on the current roster, I could see something like that. Maybe Burke. If he's kind of like a Brett Martin coming out of the bullpen and does something, I don't know. I went with a guy kind of out of the box. I thought maybe one of these kids gets a call up through an injury or something. And I went with the kind of the flashy pick from spring was Josh Smith. Comes up maybe a couple months in and ends up hitting 270, maybe with about 8 or 9 home runs. Play some good defense at third or something like that. Maybe it's shortstop. Yeah. Hopefully it's not shortstop, but something like that. I thought out of the box there. On the roster, I would say Burke. I'm interested to see Burke kind of take over the Brett Martin role, maybe. Do that, and or it's Josh Smith. Who's the breakout guy? Who do you think is a guy that has a chance to just break out? And there are 2 good ones on this team. So whichever one you pick, I'm going to go with the other one that could possibly break out.
Well, I'm going to pick Nathaniel Lowe.
Okay.
That's
one of them.
He had a very good spring.
Yep.
He got a full year under his belt last year. Made some adjustments to catch up to the fastball. Was working really hard to improve his defense. And there's going to be a lot less pressure on him in the lineup. After the trade deadline last yeyear, it was him and Adolis who had to carry the load, and that's tough for a first-year player, as they both were. So, give me Nathaniel Lowe.
That was one of my 2. The other one was a guy who wasn't even supposed to be in the lineup, Ibanez. I think Ibanez, right now they've got him hitting 9th. You got Andy Ibanez hitting 9th in the lineup. that tells you how much better your lineup is than last year. His defense obviously would have to improve. You saw more than I did. The big leaguers weren't there by the time I'd left spring.
Yeah.
He had a couple shaky moments over there, I think, that I heard about or something. But
yeah, but he also made some really good plays, and
right, I heard that too.
And he hit. So
that's the thing.
That's fine. I mean, that's not a bad pick. But I think he has a short leash, and if he struggles, then I think that's how you might see Josh Smith or even Davis Wenzel.
Exactly. Right.
Get a call up.
Davis Wenzel and Josh Smith was a toss-up for me. Whoever's doing better is the one that gets the call, and that could be a rookie of the year. And Josh Smith is just, last night he took a walk and a good at bat. I was watching some of that on my MILB app. By the way, they got just roasted last night. Jason Barr didn't look good. Did you watch any of that?
I did not. I had two kids who I couldn't shake. So
well, you were coming back home too. You had to get home.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, Jason Barr did not look good. Latz wasn't horrible. He walked a couple of guys, got out of every inning. Only got they got 2 runs on him in 4 innings. But he didn't look horrible. But he wasn't the Jake Latz that's going to make a major league start this year. That's not what I saw last night. But I don't think I think he's down the line a little bit maybe. But man, I tell you what, Jason Barr, I don't know. He can't do that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Can't do that. So my breakout player was Ibanez. I think that's it. Let's get Woody in here. He'll be joining us here pretty quick, and then we'll get this thing out.